Hi, this is Deborah Cohen, and I thank you for joining me today on a story and a song. Today, we'll be talking about my tribe. I have, as an indie artist and new author, been looking for my tribe, and they seem to be hard to find, so I thought I would share some reading that appeals to me, and by logic and conclusion, I would say that if this also appeals to you, then you must be part of my tribe, and vice versa, which means please subscribe to my channel and share wherever a story and a song podcast is broadcasted every Sunday morning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Right now, it's broadcasting on my YouTube channel. You can find it with the handle at Jewish Rock Music, or on my Instagram channel. The handle there is Deborah Cohen Music, DOTCOM. And I want to give a special shout out to the person who turned me on to the memoir that I'm going to share with you after the break. Her name is Linda Lippett. So, Yesher Choach to Linda. So find a place in the next 30 minutes where you can listen and learn. Maybe you need paper and pen like me. And I'll be right back right after this message. Hello, this is Deborah Cohen Music, and I'm so glad that you took the time to listen to my podcast, A Story and a Song. It's about my life, to share some wisdom and some mistakes, hopefully that we can learn from together and laugh at maybe, starting in the 80s in a new wave rock band in Boston with 2 singles that are still available on Spotify. Boston Nights and Dreamin'. And then on my worldly journey that we're all on, I morphed into a spiritually dominant being where I am a truth seeker and write songs of praise while having one foot in the world writing sync music. So listen up and share. And this is Deborah Cohen, and I welcome you here today. The book that I'm going to share with you is called My Life in Jewish Renewal. So if this is something that appeals to you, then welcome to my tribe. The rabbi is Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi. So let us jump right in. This is from his chapter of the book. The book, as I mentioned, is My Life in Jewish Renewal, a memoir. This is the chapter entitled A Visionary Introduction to My Life Quest. About 25 years ago, I was working with Professor Howard Schwartz, among the world's leading interpreters of traditional Jewish folklore and legend. He is also a prize-winning author of a children's book and poetry. It was our bold idea to take events from my life, says Rabbi Shalomi, and recast them in the form of Hasidic parables and tales. We collaborated for about 1.5 years and finished it working together every day in Jerusalem for a month. Published in 1983, the book is titled The Dream Assembly, which, as a side note, is available on Amazon for a hefty price on this unemployed senior's budget. It expanded popular interest in the mystical and intuitive features of Hasidism, which I, Deborah Cohen, am personally interested in and a student of. Although I wrote the story with Howard Schwartz as part of a larger tapestry, it well serves as a relevant, dreamlike introduction to the story of my life, says Rabbi Zalman. In my quest to be an authentic Hasidic Rebbe in a world incredibly different from when Hasidism originated in the late 18th century. A tzaddik in search of a script. Reb Zalman called Reb Shmuel Leib, there's a mouthful for me, Shmuel Leib and Fable the Dark and Fable the Light, and asked them to form a Beit Din. Now, if you don't know what a Beit Din is, it's a group of rabbis that get together to judge legal matters in Judaism. It's a court of law. Reb Sholem and Reb Chaim Elia were to serve as the scribes of the court. Here, then, were the proceedings as Reb Chaim Elia recalled them. Reb Zalman sighed with a heavy heart and said that he wished the Beit Din to meet after the morning prayer, to hear a dream of his and to perform the ritual of Hatavat Halom, in which a dream is interpreted. As a side note, this intrigues me. There are still today dream interpretations. They're not just in the book of Daniel. Once the Beit Din had been constituted, Reb Zalman stood before them, and Shmuel Leib, speaking for the court, said, quote, "All interpretations are of God. Please tell us your dream," end quote. Now, are you getting a picture in your mind yet? I'm thinking about the time when Joseph stood before Pharaoh, and Pharaoh began to tell Joseph his dream, his troubling dream. But here is the dream from Rabbi Zalman. Then Reb Zalman said 3 times, quote, "I saw a dream. May it be for good," end quote. And Shmuel Leib replied, quote, "The dream you have seen is good, and for good may it be. May the merciful one make it turn out for good. 7 times may it be decreed from heaven that it is good and shall be," end quote. Then Reb Zalman began to recite the words of the psalm. "You have turned my sackcloth into dancing." And after this, he related his dream. He said, and before I tell you what he said, as a side note, why did I sing that part? "You have turned my sackcloth into dancing," because I recorded that psalm, Psalm 30. So add it to your playlist, Psalm 30 by Debracohen. All right, so Reb Zalman said, "I felt my time had come, and the Hevra Kadisha was surrounding my bed. I had said the Vidui, the confession, and was ready to invite the Malach Hamavez, the angel of death, to do his work. Quickly, utilizing every name of God I had learned, I effected the unification and saw myself plunged into a torrent of white light before Duma, the angel of the grave. Even before he had a chance to intercept me and ask me his questions, for I wished nothing else but to be drawn into the very body of the One, with a capital O, who is the source of all the blessings. Like a drop merging with the ocean, I wished to be assimilated into Ein Sof. Wave after wave of swirls interrupted the mikvah of the river of light. Each time my head bobbed up from that river, I saw another image. Sometimes it seemed to be that all mankind was actually connected. And what seems to us to be the upper part of a person, that which stands out and makes him look separate, was only an appendage of that one being that we all are underneath the surface. I saw myself from time to time rousing the somnolent parts of myself. Some of them woke up with smiles. Some woke up startled, and others were angry and cursed for having been woken up from their long sleep and because they wished to stay in their separateness. And responding to their anger, I found myself getting angry as well. And only the next wave of the river of light washed away my anger and carried it out to sea. Then another wave came, and as I emerged from the river, every good deed I had ever done in my life surrounded me, tempting me with pride, and I did not know what to do with them. But suddenly I saw Melchizedek, the king of Salem, and the high priest on high, and I said to him, "Please take my mitzvot and offer them up. They are not for me, but for the Holy One, blessed be he." And Melchizedek lifted up the mitzvot, and as he did, he lifted me up as well. And there, as he lifted me very high, the river of light bathed my soul once more. All during that time I heard the surging sound of a bat kol, a heavenly voice, although I could not make the words out. But this time, as I was about to plunge again into the next wave of the river of light, I saw it, but not very clearly. The voice said, "Whom shall I send? And who shall go for us?" This time my mind did not merge with the river of light. So painful was the cry of the Shekhinah with those words. And before I knew it, I cried hoarsely, "I will go." I followed the sound I heard, trying to reach its source, and before long I found myself before a veil of tears. Smokestacks with blue smoke curling up to the heaven in my father's town of Osweskim. Countless people were crying out, "Shema Yisrael," as their last outcry. And all the while, the Shekhinah was wailing and wailing. But the Omnipotent One did not give her any power to stop what was happening. Again I cried, "I will go," thinking I was to join the martyrs. In the next wave, the Shekhinah repeated her question with urgent clarity, and this time I responded with a clear voice. I was carried still further into the future and saw a country in which many Jews made their home. And in that country, there were Jews who, if they received any Torah at all, received only the outer trappings of Yiddishkeit and none of its inner joys. And my soul was attracted to go there. And there I saw myself studying in a yeshiva where the joy and power of the Torah had not been lost, and with others who had responded to the call and kept looking for that which was lacking in all of that country. And then I found myself faced with an awakening in which I saw the river of light once more in my path to which I had become pledged, running beside it. And I started to look for a way in which I could fulfill the task that I had undertaken. And that path led me to a Beit Midrash. And when I entered there, I saw that the shelves were lined with books. And I opened those books and saw that each one contained a script for a tzaddik who lived in a different time. There was a wonderful script about how to be a tzaddik in the time of Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, a wonderful one about how to be a tzaddik in medieval Spain, such as Yehuda Halevi, another that spoke of how to be a tzaddik in early Germany, such as Judah the Pious. The volume of the script of the Ari still had the letters dancing in it. And there was one about how to be a tzaddik in the time of the Baal Shem. But when I came to the book of how to be a tzaddik in my own time, and I opened it, I found, to my horror, that it was blank. There was no script. Then I called out and I said, Ribbono Shel Olam, I have volunteered and said that I would come and serve, but I do not know how to serve you in this century. So much has changed. So few of the things that were guidelines in the past can be of help to me today. But there was only silence. And at that, I fell into great terror, and I began to cry. Then I began to count all the books on the shelves. And when I had counted them all, I found that there were 620 books, one for each of the 613 mitzvot, and one for each of the 7 mitzvot of the Rabbanim. And I opened up each and every one of those books and searched each of those ways, but none of them had the script I was searching for. At last I came back to the blank book, and I studied it more closely. And so I discovered that one thing had been written on it: my name. Then I realized that I myself would have to inscribe the pages of the book open before me. I looked for quill and ink, but learned that each page had to be written by a mixture of tears, sweat, and blood mixed with black bite, melancholia. Then I began to cry and sweat and pierced my finger for blood and began to write. But I discovered that if the ingredient of joy was missing, the letters would soon fade, and the page would become blank again. That is how I learned. I had to add joy to that mixture, for only then would the ink be permanent. Whoa. Just then, Reb Zalman stopped speaking and looked up and found himself standing before the Beit Din. And he was silent for a long time. But at last he said, quote, "Now tell me, will the letters that I write in that book lead me to Gan Eden, or will they bring me to Gehenna? Will I be able to fulfill that for which I offered my soul? Or will I, in my eagerness, drag myself and those who follow me into the abyss?" And when Reb Zalman had said this, the members of the Beit Din realized how complex was the matter and how heavy the weight of their decision. And they consulted together in whispers for a very long time. But they could not reach a conclusion. Therefore, they asked the 2 scribes, Reb Chaim Elia and Reb Sholem, to join them. And they continued to consult for another 2 hours, until 3 hours had passed. And all that time, Reb Zalman stood before them, his head sunk on his chest, and it seemed to him that his soul hung in the balance by a slender thread. At last the Beit Din reached a decision, and Reb Shmuel Leib spoke for the court and said, quote, "As to where the path you have taken will lead you, we are unable to say. All we can tell you is this. It is clearly destined that you will live until you have finished inscribing every page of that book. May he who gives peace to those who are far and near guard you well until that day, and guard your soul in the days that follow." End quote. At that point, they all started to chant the Hatavat Halom, and Reb Zalman went to daven, singing Hallelujah with a strange melody and a strange rhythm that none of the Hasidim had ever heard. And that is where I will end today's reading of a story. And the song Hallelujah shall be heard in your awakening and mine. I encourage you to get this book and share it with others. Again, the title is My Life in Jewish Renewal by, let's see if it says who this is by. Oh, Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi with, it looks like Edward. Hold on a minute. Let me get the right information here. I don't want to lead you astray. Edward Hoffman. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that you will consider getting this book, meditating on the truth of mysticism in Judaism. If this interests you, please befriend me on Facebook, Deborah Cohen Music. Subscribe to my music channels. Get my book. And be my friend. Thank you again for listening. I hope to see you again next Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time for a story and a song. Are you interested in the truth about Palestine? The historical documented facts? You can find them in a new book by author Deborah Cohen. You can have a chance at a free audiobook. Just go to Deborah Cohen's YouTube channel. The handle is at Jewish Rock Music. Try your luck by clicking on one of the links on her Shorts video that mentions 100 free downloads in the summer of 2024. If you are a lucky recipient, then you redeem your free audiobook on Spotify Premium. So in order to participate and redeem the audiobook link, you have to have Spotify Premium. Good luck! How to get Deborah's new book. On her website, go to deborahcohenmusic.com. Look for the text that says New Book on Amazon. That will take you to a newsletter sign-up page where you can submit your email. It will give you an email confirmation with a PDF link to her book for a free download. Please consider reading this book, Historical Documented Facts of the Origins of Palestine, something that everybody needs to know who are talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Get educated, read the facts, get the book, talk about it, speak about it, and share it. And don't forget to write a good review. Amazon.com and Audible.com.
Share peace with these unique gifts, written in English, Hebrew, and Arabic.